Welcome to offensive. I'm sad because the Bears might do something good for the first time since Olivia Newton-John in the 80s. I don't know if it's true. Maybe it could happen. I don't know. I can't really say because I'm a Packer fan. I'm probably never going to happen, but who knows? Dave's here, Chief's here, and you're a Bears fan. You just beat the Green Bay Smacker Packers, and you're excited. Your coach is doing all kinds of crazy stuff, yelling, screaming at the Packers, doing all this stuff. And they're going to be playing the Rams, Dave, and this is crazy. Like, we could talk about all the stuff happening in the past, but I think what we're excited about is this game coming up with the Bears and the Rams. The Rams are the big alpha dog. They rate so good in all the analytical categories. They have a great offensive line. They have a great defensive line. They've got the MVP quarterback. They've got 2 all-pro wide receivers. One that's like completely unstoppable. Puka Nacua is graded as the greatest single wide receiver season since PFF has had analytics. Yep. All this stuff is happening, Dave. How are you feeling, man, right now after beating the Packers, but now knowing you have to play the Rams?
This is why we busted our ass all season, because home field advantage. You know, we get to have an LA team where it was 80 degrees in Los Angeles today. They get to travel up to Chicago, where the forecast, I think, it's going to be like 15 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
With the wind chill, it's going to be sub-zero.
Look at this.
Yeah, that is a beautiful, beautiful stat right there. Wind gust 20 to 30 miles an hour. Breaking news is going to be
in negative wind chill up to negative 10 degrees and 30-mile-an-hour winds in Chicago on Sunday, Dave.
And Davante Adams finally thought he got away from playing in the cold. He played in Green Bay his entire career. Then he went over to the Jets. Well, he had a little – nobody really counts that Raiders stint. That didn't count. But he spent most of his career in the cold. He finally thought he got away with it. He thought, oh, I'll be in the Rams. We'll get the 1 seed. We'll be California cool, everything else. And now they get to go back to Midwest cold, and they get to play against, the coldest quarterback.
The Canadian
in the
weather
league.
is coming down, just swooping down from Canada, Wayne Gretzky's weather. You know what I'm saying? Like NHL stuff. And it's going to be like a frozen tundra down there, all that stuff. And it's going to be crazy.
Iceman. We got the Iceman. He's going to be
is that his nickname?
Hollywood could not write something better, because they don't want to see their poor little pretty boys get crushed. Now, it's going to be an epic matchup. There's 2 strong offensive lines, and the Bears having to go against that defensive line for the Rams. They're legit. But
before we get into the specifics, let's set this up though, Dave, of how good the Rams are. Okay. Look at this. The Rams power ranking, number 1, 17% chance to win the Super Bowl. And check this out. If you want to see the Bears, they're not even on the screen. They're way at the bottom. The Bears are tied with the Vikings for 15th best team in the power. And this is the thing, that's not even analytics. That's just their power rankings of their opinion on the team, I guess. I don't know, but influenced by their analytics. Also, the Rams are rated as PFF as the best defensive line and a top 4 or 5 offensive line. And obviously, Puka Nacua just had the greatest wide receiver year analytically, possibly since Jerry Rice or something, So there's all this stuff happening that says the Rams are just monolith of a team that's so good, and the Bears are just meh, right? That's kind of how this is set up, Dave. But knowing this power ranking here, do you think the Bears have a chance? And let's bring up some reasons that maybe you think they do.
Sure. Number 1 is a home field advantage. This week, Ben Johnson has the Bears playing outside every day, and he's not allowing them to have any heaters on the sidelines. So he's just trying to get them acclimated to this. He's like, okay, we're going to make this home field advantage. And if you have to wear an extra, shirt underneath or whatnot, you have to put Vaseline on, whatever, to keep your body warm. Do it now during the week, just so that way when the game gets here on Sunday, it's going to be a little bit colder, but you're going to know how to manage it.
And I think it's helping their endurance at the end of games, Dave. They're a team that plays well in the fourth quarter, and the cold can wear you down. If you get cold, you don't want to hit. You're kind of not into it. By the end of the game, it's not feeling good. You don't want to be there.
Oh, yeah, and I really think all the players are basically going to have to down a gallon of Gatorade throughout the entire game.
Are they going to also turn the heat off on the bench on the other side like they did in the Packers?
Like what happened against the Packers? No, that was a technical glitch. We had nothing to do with that whatsoever. Cheat to win, baby.
I'm sure Vince Lombardi would give a thumbs up to that. Yeah, and there's plenty of reasons. I'll give you one more reason. I'll give you one of my reasons. I think the Bears could possibly win. Now, the Rams have the best defensive line in the league. They have great defensive ends. They got a great defensive young tackle that's getting penetration, getting like a lot of hit. I think they're like rated very high for hits in the backfield, all that stuff, all the good stuff you want from a defensive line. But the Bears offensive line is also rated very high, Dave. In fact, PFF had their top offensive line in the playoffs, and it was all basically Bears and Broncos players. So obviously, the late season play of the Bears offensive line and like against the Packers has been really good. And I think that gives Caleb enough time to run around and cause some trouble with his scrambling, with all of his stuff against that Rams defense that plays a lot of zone and plays a lot of cover two, which he tends to do really well against. I think because when you scramble around, guys get in and out of zones and guys get open. So that style of defense by the Rams and it combined with the Bears having a good offensive line, I think could give them a shot in this game.
And one of the nice things that happened against the Packer game is when Caleb was back there, when he's moving, when he's using his bodies and whatnot, he's actually showing the kind of maturity that you kind of see with Matthew Stafford, where he's manipulating the defenders. If he sees her in his own, he's kind of moving his shoulders just a little bit because he knows that'll get them to step over a little bit this way. That'll create a gap right there. And he's starting to understand that level of the game, and it's a fantastic time to do it because this secondary can be got. He has got the arm to do that. Front is elite, but the secondary can get got.
He's got a strong arm, so he can do that. He can be running around and he can zip like a pass wherever he wants it to go. And it's crazy how he's like more accurate on the run than he is in the pocket. Like when he's on the run, maybe because he's a little bit closer to them and he's comfortable out there. He's not thinking about the pass rush and everything around him. Maybe he can like focus a little bit more, even though it seems crazy because you're scrambling. Maybe that's his comfort zone. That seems to be his whole career, is his comfort zones when he's scrambling. He makes the crazy play, and he wants to be the guy that wins the game on this crazy play. That's his comfort zone. The Rams defensive line, the line's pretty good though. It might be harder for him to do that, but like there is a world that exists where he's throwing to Luther Burden in these zones and moving the chains at a pretty good rate.
Mm-hmm.
And in the running game, Dave, do you think this running team can run? The Bears can run on the Rams.
The Bears haven't really had a good running game since we demolished the Eagles, which is strange to say.
And, the Rams' running defense is good.
Oh, yeah, the run defense is good. But, yeah, for the last 4 or 5 weeks, the run game hasn't been what we want it to be, and Ben Johnson even acknowledged it this week. But another thing that you have to realize is the last 4 or 5 weeks, we haven't had Rome Odunze. Back in the days when we had Matt Forte, he dominated because he had Brandon Marshall and he had Alshon Jeffrey, and they were out there blocking, and that sprung a lot of deep stuff for him. That actually opened up the outside run game quite a bit. So having Rome Odunze back, even though his foot might be bothering him, so he might not be able to make the downfield catches, it's still going to be a feather in the hat for our run game, which is going to help quite a bit. Because you'll notice a lot of times that they set up the run where they're going to run one way, and then it's designed to do the cutback. Go against the grain. And it's on those plays where when you have Rome 5-10 yards down the field and he's taken out, the backside backer or something to help spring stuff. So I think that is going to be an advantageous. So Rome's going to have a benefit. It just won't be in the passing game like maybe you would have thought, a couple of months
ago. He's coming back from injury. He might be rusty and stuff, but maybe he can throw some blocks out there. This is the thing is Ben Johnson's going to have to get his bag of tricks and throw some magic out there to score enough, because I'm pretty sure the Rams offense is going to score a decent amount. Yeah. But the other thing, Dave, I'm speaking as a Packer fan. I'm trying to say nice things about the Bears because why not? Like, it'd be interesting to see if this could happen. Montez Sweat has a 19% pass rush win rate since week 14. So over the past 4 or 5 games, he played well against the Packers. He had, I think, 7 pressures against the Packers, which is a lot. Now he was going up against maybe the worst offensive line in history, but you can't take that away from him. You know what I mean? Because there are in the past, the Bears defense didn't play that well. They raised their level up, their arrows pointing up. They played tough in the second half in the playoffs when it meant something, when it meant a lot. Do you think that it's possible in this cold weather that they can wear the Rams down and kind of take control in that second half, and maybe that defense can play better than people expect them?
I think so because Austin Booker has also been coming. He's been making plays in the second half. Second year player, I think, who's a 5th-round draft pick out of Kansas. And he showed some potential, and then he got hurt beginning of the season. But now he knocked Jordan Love out of the regular season game, and that wasn't just an unfortunate flow of the game. I don't think it was dirty, but yeah, he's aggressive and he makes just enough plays. Oh yeah, I can't blame you.
Super dirty, but the thing is, I make these jokes, Dave. But the thing is that I want the Packers to be aggressive, especially in the first half. If you get a penalty in the first half for hitting the quarterback, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, not to say that you want to hurt them. I'm just saying that you want to make.
It's going to cause a half-second hesitation on every.
Yeah, you want him to hear footsteps. You want him to be like, "Oh no!" You want him to not be thinking about what he's supposed to be thinking about. And Booker, if he hits Stafford a few times, maybe Stafford throws a couple picks.
Oh yeah, and this is also going to be the first game since the Eagles game. Actually, I think this is only going to be the second game all season where we have CJ Gardner-Johnson. And we also have our slot are going to be in the game.
Yeah, but Johnson's kind of slow, isn't he?
What's that? But the thing that makes it nice is with those two guys in, we can run dime, and they like to blitz both him and Gordon.
I see.
So this way, because even if we're not able to get the pressure right away, that we want just off of the 4-man rush, this gives us those corner blitzes. So that way we can try to generate pressure against Matthew Stafford, because even in the cold, you don't want him to be able to sit back there because he will just annihilate you.
As much as I say all these nice things about the Bears, I still and while I'm saying them, I'm imagining Puka Nacua just grabbing an 80-yard touchdown and just stiff arming dudes.
Oh yeah,
like half of their offense is literally just like Puka's over there, throw the ball in that general direction. He just jumps up, catches it, and he says, "Out of the way, young man! Out of the way, peon!" And he just walks in the end zone. Like I don't know. Devontae said he's the most strongest, core strength guy he's ever seen in his life. Where he's not like big, like muscle wise, but his core is just pure. His strength is just crazy. So it's kind of an interesting thought that the Bears have this thing where they come back and they make these great, amazing plays, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, and they're just kind of kill your soul and your emotion. The Rams kind of do that too, Dave, a little bit. You know what I mean? With Puka. They're in tons of games where they're down, and all the next thing you know, Puka has 240 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they win.
But they also have games like both the games they had against Carolina. In this last one, you're watching halfway through the second quarter, and it looked like they're just going to absolutely boat race Carolina. And then all of a sudden, Carolina made a couple of plays. They leaned into the run game, and then they were able to take that game all the way to the very end.
And Carolina is a pretty decent defense. I think they're rated top 8, so their defense might be even better than the Bears. So, not to say they're the world beaters, but Carolina's defense did against the Packers too, where they were able to kind of do some things. But I think this is going to be about the offensive and defensive coordinators, Dave. If Johnson can outdo and have more magic than McVay in this game, do you think that's possible? McVay, the old tight end coach, do you think he can get out-coached by Johnson?
Well, that's the fun thing that Olin Kreutz actually brought up today is he said, it's amazing how you look at Ben Johnson. He was a tight ends coach in Miami. That's how he cut his teeth. You look at McVay, he was a tight ends coach for the Washington Commanders. So, and it makes you kind of wonder, both of them are great. They make sure that you have the same look, the same formation, and you can do 5 different things out of that formation, where the run can set up the pass and vice versa. And that's something where maybe just understanding how the tight end position had to work, because that's one position where you have to know everything in the run game and everything in the pass game as to what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to crash down and hit a linebacker, hit a safety or whatnot. So that was something interesting that Kreutz brought up to where, hey, maybe, when you're looking at offensive coordinators and whatnot, try to look for somebody with that experience. And there was something else to where they said that when Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator for the Lions and they got Jared Goff, a lot of the offense that they set up was based off of what Goff already had in his playbook from McVay. So when Ben Johnson was first starting to call his own offense, he borrowed a lot from McVay's playbook. And a compliment that McVay paid him this week is he said, that's really something where you see a guy where he really understands what the defense is doing, how to set up the defense, and what to do, in every situation. So I think it's 2 guys or 2 students of the game. And I think that they're both 2 of the top 4 offensive minds, I think. And it's weird to say that as a Bears fan. I'd say we have a good coach that's like that. But I think Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, he's getting looks at a head coach for a reason. He's a smart guy. He probably did a lot of mind melding with McVay, just to try to figure out philosophies. So I think they're going to come up with a really interesting game plan to try to counteract Ben Johnson. Again, our run game hasn't been what it has been, but in the cold, I think we will really need it. And to see what McVay can do against Dennis Allen, because Dennis Allen, I had a lot more hair last week. I pulled it all out in that first half because Dennis Allen couldn't stop. Family show. So I think I really think that McVay is going to have the upper hand against Dennis Allen. I think it might be a push as far as how Ben Johnson is going to do against Shula. So I would say give the Rams a slight edge if it was at neutral field. But I think the cold is ultimately going to be the determining factor. We're going to be used to the weather, and with the Bears, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the score is. When we were getting boat raced by Green Bay 21-3 in the first half, we still stuck with the run. If the same thing happens against the Rams, everyone's saying, you can't do that because the Rams will just keep going and keep going. But one of the reasons
control the game.
Oh yeah. But one of the reasons why you're scared about doing that against the Rams is because you're worried about, okay, those edge rushers are just going to pin their ears back and they're going to kill Caleb. Well, even if we're down by 15, 20, we're still going to run. We're still going to run. We're still going to hit you. We're going to keep you honest, and that's going to allow Caleb to hit some of those explosives. So we're never out of it, no matter what the score is.
Well, you've got a good offensive line, Dave, so you can run the ball. You know what I mean? Like, even though the run defense is very good, you're going to be able to run the ball at least most of the game, I think.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I really think, the Rams on paper, maybe they should have the edge, but we got the home field advantage. We got the magic. We got the Iceman in sub-zero weather. So I like our chances. I think it's going to be fun. Yeah. I like the Bears by 3. This is the highest over-under of the week. So for a reason.
Yeah, it could be high scoring game. And on a neutral field, I would pick the Rams 100 times out of 100. But being at Soldier Field in the cold, in the wind, is going to make it harder for Stafford to do those 60-yard passes and do those big high-flying whatever things he does. Caleb, on the other hand, I think when he scrambles around, it won't affect it as much because he'll scramble and maybe run the ball more than he throws it if he's smart, I think. But to me, the game comes down to is what defense can get into and mess with the quarterback. If you can affect Stafford a little bit, you've got safeties back there like Bird that can cause some turnovers, and they're looking for those turnovers, right? They're looking for those mistakes and those balls that are flying like ducks in the air. If I had to just say who's going to win, I would say the Rams are going to win because they're so much better on paper, right? But the thing is that in the back of my head, I'm not sure about it, Dave. I'm not certain.
Oh yeah, because the vaunted Rams defense, 4 of the last 7 games, the defense has given up over 30 points.
Yeah.
And so that's where you can say, okay, they're not as solid. And again, I think part of that may have been some of the strength of schedule that they had a little bit earlier.
Well, they played some good defenses too, that kind of rattled Stafford through picks, like Falcons and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but yeah, so the Panthers put up 31, the Lions got 34, the Seahawks got 37. And then Panthers got 31 again. So their defense can get got, their secondary can get got. And yeah, I think our offensive line is the best neutralizer. It stinks that we're going to be without our left tackle. That's going to be the most interesting matchup. And that's where I'd say just put Cole Kmet or our number 3 tight end, just put him in there and just to try to help out with blocking.
Yeah, because you've got, Bryce Young rushing off that end, so that could be a problem there. I have a feeling that the Bears line will do well, but at pivotal times in the game, Bryce Young is going to cause some kind of havoc back there. So,
it's going to be Byron Young.
Byron Young. He's one of those guys that will come into the game, and when there's a critical time, he'll make a play. And so who knows? Maybe Montez Sweat can do that for the Bears, but the Rams' offensive line's pretty good. But I think the thing about it too is that if you're a Bears fan, what I would say to you if you want to feel good about this game is Caleb seems to have good analytics against this style of defense. And so that could mitigate some of the fact that the Rams defense is very good. And that could kind of even out the playing field a little bit. Which is kind of like the thing I would be worried about if I was a Bears fan, because Caleb in the first 3 quarters is often very bad, like 50% completion percentage, doing whatever, making mistakes.
That's the odd thing. In the first and third quarter, he actually completes 62% of his passes.
Second quarter that gets you.
The first and third he completes 62%, and then the second and fourth he only completes 55.
Okay, there
so
you go.
He just totally takes a crap for the first 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, and he's like, all right, all the lights are on. All right, put on my cape. It's flossing time, bitch.
Well, yeah, people like to call him the Iceman. It's going to be icy in Chicago. So Dave, yeah, what is your prediction for this game, and who do you think is going to get the big play in the game?
The big play in the game, I like Kyler Gordon getting off of the interception, off a deflected pass at the line in the fourth quarter. So our offense have been winning everything all season. This would be the kind of thing where it's just great, where we go against the number one offense and our defense actually makes the critical play at the very end. After Caleb gets us the go-ahead win or the go-ahead score with about 4 minutes left in the game, much like he did against Green Bay. And then our defense will be able to come up big at the very end. So I like Kyler Gordon off a tip play. Totally random. No justification, but with the season we've had, why the hell not?
That does sound like it could possibly happen. I was going to mention like the tip passes, that the Bears are pretty good at that. I feel like what's going to happen at the end of the game is that it's going to be close, or the Rams are going to be winning and the Bears cause a fumble on a running play with the running back. And at the end of the game, it comes down to who's going to make the bigger play. Is it going to be the Bears or Puka? And I think in my head, there's going to be like a 60-yard pass that Puka makes to get a touchdown to barely win, or maybe force overtime at the end. So I'm going to predict the Rams to win barely in this game.
Barely.
But I'm only doing that just because I want to be the opposite of Dave. I really
I get
with how cold it is, Dave. I really have no freaking idea what's going to happen at all in this game. When it's that cold and windy, you just don't know. And the kicker has been very good in the cold. So, all right, that's our final guess on the game. And Dave, what would be your message to the Bears if you're in the locker room for the game? What would you just say to the Bears?
I don't know. Fuck the Rams. I hate those guys. Fuck LA. We are the number 2 city.
That's really good. If I was in their locker room, I'd say the Bears still suck.